Hey, you geeks! I truly do love modern fantasy's ability to mix and meld cultures, highlighting the common ground between them. I generally approach this common ground from the West, as that is my culture. But upon finishing A Memory of Light, spoiler alert, a strong west wind has blown me eastward to determine what exactly is Rand's relation to the wind.
In one age, called the Third Age by some, a wind rose in the mountains of mist.
I did this by first considering Jordan's cultural perspective, then the fire of heaven, the name of the wind, and the Tower of Babel.
And I think if you had experienced even a little bit of the 60s, you might feel the same way too.
I've talked about my discomfort covering Hindu mythology on this channel. This comes from being fed a lot of watered-down Hindu-inspired spirituality in the name of the Spirit of Vatican II, which was the Catholic branch of the greater cultural movement of the 60s that equivocated Christian and Hindu teachings, as recorded by eminent philosopher George Harrison.
My sweet Lord.
I find this approach supremely annoying and offensive to both cultures. Though there are commonalities which this video will highlight and enjoy, there are also important differences, which is what makes intercultural dialogue fruitful.
The 60s weren't good to you, were they?
Jordan compared and contrasted both Christian and Hindu influences in The Wheel of Time in an original, fantastical way that I appreciate. So, to more fully appreciate it, I must consider Hinduism, which for an outsider is daunting. With several sets of scriptures, some contradicting each other, it arises from an oral tradition spanning back thousands of years,
Leaving memories that become legend. Legend fades to myth, and even myth is long forgotten when the age that gave it birth comes again.
Thus, this video focuses on two stories in three variations and uses as authentic of sources as I could find. Links in the description. Though, I never would have known where to begin until I reviewed Beginnings Part 1 from The Legend of Korra.
You can't steal from the lion turtle? Really? Because I just did.
Fire of Heaven. As a long-time Avatar The Last Airbender fan, I have known that Agni meant fire since His Hotness Prince Zuko said it.
An Agni Kai at sunset.
But only recent events have caused me to consider Agni as the Hindu god of fire. He appears first in the Rig Veda, written approximately between 1500 and 1000 BC. Agni makes both a great show of destruction. Agni, who, like the roaring of the winds, like a victorious host, like a thunderbolt in heaven, is not to be arrested, devours and destroys our foes with sharpened teeth, and as a warrior, annihilates his enemies. He, Agni, lays waste the woods. But Agni is also beneficent to men. Born in the woods, the friend of man, Agni protects his worshipper, as a Raja favors an able man, kind as a defender, prosperous as a performer of good works. In other words, Agni is the ideal Appalachian mountain man.
Born on a mountaintop in Tennessee, the greenest state in the land of the free. Raised in the woods so they knew every tree.
The Rig Veda tells of how Agni was born of lightning and spread on the wind. As soon as born, Agni manifested to Matarshvan in the highest atmosphere, and his radiance, kindled by vigorous effort, spread through heaven and earth. Matarshvan, in the Rig Veda, is sometimes used as the proper name of the wind, whose name I will do my darndest to pronounce consistently, if not correctly. Agni's parallels to Rand are easy to draw. Rand's first public manifestation was above the sky in Falma, which autocorrect just informed me is an anagram of flame. Above the watchers over the waves shall he proclaim himself, bannered across the sky in fire. Yet Rand is not at ease with his destructive side, as he informed Moiraine after Falma. Light, the dragon, is supposed to break the world again, to tear everything apart. I will not be the dragon. It's easy from the West to equivocate fire with dragons.
I am fire. I am death.
But not so much from the East. Yet Jordan does it anyway. Let the arm of the Lord of the Dawn shelter us from the dark, and the great sword of justice defend us. Let the dragon ride again on the winds of time. So how does the Wheel of Time merge Satan, the dragon, and fire with the imagery of Agni? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The name of the wind. We've seen the Rig Veda name the wind properly as Matarishven.
They call the wind Mariah.
But sometimes Matarishven is just translated as the wind. Agni and Soma, the wind brought one of you from heaven. A hawk carried the other one by force from the summit of the mountain. Thus, Matarishven is said to have brought the fire, Agni, to earth. Despite acknowledging that fire destroyed things, the Rig Veda reveres the wind and fire, the wind endowed with the vigor of his son, the measurer of two worlds, of heaven and earth, and swiftest of the swift, beautifies all things. Matarishven is often touted as the Indian Prometheus. Prometheus is the Greek titan who gave humanity fire and was cursed by Zeus to be chained to a mountain and had his liver removed daily by a bird. Considering the commonalities of the gift of fire and the bird bearing divine fluid from a mountaintop, it is not surprising that Prometheus's name comes from Vedic roots, Prometheus meaning thief. So it seems that as the story blew west, it changed. The divine being who granted humanity fire was punished rather than praised. Looking at it on a map, we see this story traveled through Hebrew lands, leaving one to wonder if it had any influence on their culture, specifically the fall of Lucifer, named by Isaiah in the 800s BC as the bearer of light, and morning star who fell from heaven. 830 years later, Jesus said, "I have observed Satan fall like lightning from the sky. Behold, I have given you the power to tread upon serpents."
You fall in flame.
I will do a whole video comparing Rand to Satan. So let's just note here that both Satan and Agni are said to have fallen like lightning. The gospel writer Luke then ties lightning and the serpent together in derision. In the Wheel of Time, Rand has to deal with both good and bad stories about him. That you will fight in the last battle and kill the Dark One. That you are the son of an Aes Sedai by the Dark One. That you are the Dark One, or else the Creator clothed in flesh. That you will destroy the world, save it, subjugate it, bring a new age. As many tales as there are mouths. And no wonder the stories vary, as Rand himself struggles with the dual forces inside of him. "What I love, I destroy," Lews Therin laughed. What I destroy, I love. Shut up, Rand thought furiously, and the thin-edged laughter vanished. He did not know who he loved, but he knew who he was going to save, from whatever he could, but from him most of all. Don't you remember last time? That place by the wells was a pittance. Cities burned whole out of the earth were nothing. We destroyed the world. Rand, in his madness, seems to have named his destructive tendencies Lews Therin. Whether or not the voice truly belonged to Lews is a matter of debate. Rand then considered his protective side to be himself. This worked for a time, but the more Rand worked to protect, the more he found himself destroying things, until he found himself perched on a mountaintop, ready to end it all, heaven and earth subject to his whims.
A land of surprises. Snipers, shelling. Just when you think you've seen it all, along comes a lovely, destructive Manchurian windstorm.
Yet Rand chose not to end it all. Instead, he went to the source of many of the rumors and the seat of feminine power. Tower of Babel. Mitarashven, the wind, is also an aspect of Vayu, the god of the wind. The Kyan Upanishad, a later Vedic text, written around 500 BC, gives us a very interesting Vayu tale. The story begins when the Devas, or gods, are feeling quite proud because they won a victory. However, the victory truly belonged to Brahman, the metaphysical concept which refers to the ultimate unchanging reality. According to Madhva's commentary, the sifter of men, assuming the form of a god, appeared before them in order to teach them a lesson and give them enlightenment. He was accompanied by Uma and Siva and Brahma. Brahman, then disguised as a male god, had a series of humiliating encounters, first with Agni, then Vayu. Agni boasts he can burn anything, so Brahman produces a straw which Agni cannot burn. After Agni comes Vayu. He went towards that god who said to Vayu, "Who art thou?" Vayu replied, "I am Vayu. Indeed, I am the well-known Matarishva, the mover in mother." Vayu goes on to say that he can move anything on earth. Again, Brahma produces a straw which Vayu cannot move. Lastly comes Indra, from whom Brahma disappears, leaving behind the goddess Uma, who says, "Verily, this is Brahma, your inner ruler. You, O Devas, have become great and vain, and therefore you should not be proud." At first glance, this story may not have much to do with the Wheel of Time mythos, besides, of course, men doing something foolish and then being told off by a woman.
Oh, Margaret, it's you. I thought it was the storm.
Fast forward 2,000 years to the writing of the Shiva Purana, where Brahma and the goddess Uma become one. She takes the form of a blazing tower of splendor. In this story, Agni is cut, while Vayu's boast becomes embellished. I am Vayu, the breath of the world, the entire creation with its moving and unmoving creatures is woven lengthwise and crosswise upon me. I am the support of the universe. I set the whole world in motion. This version promotes Vayu to the entire pattern of the universe, and it ends with the Radiant Tower, the goddess Uma, telling him off. To a certain extent, this is the underlying plot of every Wheel of Time book save one, The Lord of Chaos, where the unstained tower breaks and bends knee to the forgotten sign. The seas rage and storm clouds gather unseen. Throughout the series, Tar-Valin's blazing tower of splendor acts like Brahma does in both tales, the latter especially.
Just walk to the White Tower.
How are we going to get there?
They say all roads lead there.
That's not how roads work.
However, Jordan balances the scales, forcing even the proud female Aes Sedai to bow and acknowledge humility. Both sexes are humbled throughout the series, and I find it fitting that parts of the Wheel of Time inspiration comes from two versions of the same tale. Thus, when word spreads on the wind like wildfire, chaos rules. The Tower of Babel falls, and people fail to communicate. And yet, a consistent common thread of truth binds them all together into a marvelous pattern that I am working to unravel. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe if you would like to see more. Your patronage is greatly appreciated.